Hey guys, welcome back to the empath. So, if you are here, first of all, welcome. My goal is always to try and help anybody who self identifies as a highly empathic, highly sensitive person, or maybe you identify as a star seed and maybe even a witch. Nonetheless, however it is that you identify when it comes to your spiritual gifts and your spiritual personality, I want to welcome you in and let's have a look at what could be going on around you. This could be past, present, or future influences. So, nonetheless, make sure you take what resonates and leave the rest. But whatever it is that we have to talk about today, it's going to be important for you to start considering what kind of boundaries you have to start setting up because I get the sense that it's this feeling as though some things might have been going on behind your back, or in some ways I feel like something might be coming back around that needs to be karmically dealt with. We do have the card of lust after we go to cut. So underneath there, we got lust, established, exhausted, daydreaming, along with possibilities. And I will say there's an apology right here, but at the top, we've got cutting ties, narcissist. Surprise, not surprised to see you here. Chaos. Ooh. Hopeless. Stagnant. So I get the sense that there is a relationship around you where you're gonna be very incentivized to start changing the nature of your relationship. Now, when it comes to cutting ties with somebody, especially if they are a narcissist, depending on your relationship, this could be someone who's a family member where maybe cutting ties um is a little bit more complicated, and it does still make sense of having each other in each other's lives, but there's an ask right now to consider who is worth sharing your information with. And I think for some of you, this person has been trying to get you involved within a situation, trying to get you to come onto their side. Um, and there's a real ask right now. Do you want to adopt other people's chaos back into your life? Because there's no sense in cutting ties from somebody out of your life if you still are magnetizing people who cause issues. Like, these are the people that you try to give them good advice, but they thank you by jamming up your text messages, and they're trying to blow up your phone with all of their problems. And it's putting, I really get the sense that it could be putting you into a state of hopelessness and stagnancy. But with this hopelessness over here, I want you to really tune into your body at this time. Even in a recent message, though, the listen to your body message, I think it was channeled a few days ago. Your body is so psychic, and we're taught to ignore the sensations in our body because we're not allowed to pursue the things we want and desire. Whatever this relationship was, it used to, I'm assuming it used to give you this sense of satisfaction, passion, pleasure. Some of this could be a little bit of that fairy tale energy before a couple gets married, but they don't really have an idea of who they are personally, and they're still codependent on their partners to placate to their emotions. So I want you to really pay attention to your own emotions at this time. This individual, this narcissist that you could be struggling with, like, I feel like you could love them, you could be frustrated with them. There's this sort of like, well, they're family, well, they're my boss, well, we've been together for so long. There's an aspect, there's like this egoic programming that we have to dive into because this other person feels hopeless, but just because they're feeling down, it doesn't mean you need to feel down. A narcissistic person, what they do is bring you down to their lower vibration because if you're doing well, it really highlights how poorly they are doing. I get the sense whoever it is that you are dealing with, um, this person sounds depressed. Like, I feel like it's somebody that you have it's like you stuck through to be there for them. You see the best possibilities within this person. You want to be there for them, but this is draining you. Now, I do want to get some tarot, but I want to make sure that we know where we can focus, especially when it comes to whatever lesson that your guides want to show you at this time. And I'm going to be sort of focusing on what this lesson is with exhausted and chaos, because this feels like something that has returned to your life over and over again. And it's draining you, but it's feeding them. What monster do you want to feed within the belly? Because a lot of the messages that I channel, especially for high level empaths like you, is because when you're empathetic, it's so easy to get lost in other people's emotions. We want to be there for them. We want them to know that, hey, you're not alone. And even if someone has an experience that you can't necessarily self-identify with, your imagination is so powerful that you could imagine what it was like for yourself. But if you have any sense, if there's any kind of judgment in the undertow, it can really dis sort of disfigure your perception on how this narcissist's reality is, because you're trying to see things from your perspective, but there's an ask right now to, if you're going to be there for this person, don't get so consumed in what you would do, what you think you should do, because you have different values than this person. If you really want to help this person out for whatever reason, you have to talk to them and say, what do you want from me? Because you may not be able to provide it. And that is part of the boundary building we're talking about. Yeah, we got the card of the shadow underneath there, trust. Um, there's a sort of, oh, like you keep coming back to this. Like, this is a shadowy version of yourself. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, there's an ask within here right now. Have a very kind sense of humor about yourself, because you're trying to placate to a narcissist, trying to get them to see things your way. That's narcissistic behavior. I'm not saying you are a narcissist. However, all of us have the potential to behave like one. It's sort of like saying, like, I'm behaving like a bitch, but I'm not actually a bitch. It's one of those sort of things. So underneath we have meditate, and at the top, gratitude. Like, this whole situation that you are going through is supposed to be a reflection of you. This other person, this narcissist, this person that you might be tempted to cut ties with, or someone that you cut ties with long ago and they're still kind of haunting you. Um, Spirit just really wants you to understand how a broken version of you is being reflected back. Because when we're navigating our spirituality, like, I always look at the shadow. When I'm coming across somebody who I find obnoxious, or maybe they're uh noshing on my energy, or even just going through something that has nothing to do with me, I always have to ask myself, what is it about this person that says something about my shadow, an aspect of myself that I'm having a difficult time seeing? Because for those of you who are brave enough to handle my channeling, what I do isn't easy per se, because I have to ask you, where do you take ownership when it comes to your emotions? Because this person isn't here. This person may not necessarily be all that interested in personal growth. Oh, and I'm trying to remember if I can recall the quote that I heard from earlier. Narcissists try to change the world, but somebody who is actively pursuing higher consciousness They try to change themselves. They try to understand their shadow. So don't be alarmed or feeling hopeless that you're still dealing with a narcissist. Spirit's just trying to show you something about yourself. Heck, some of this could be, do you really want to continue having the same conversation over and over again? Is there a different way that you could approach this? Because I'm a little bit fixated all of a sudden. I feel this shock, if you can hear it within the tone of my voice, and I'm suddenly feeling very shaky and upset. It's like, I thought we were in an established relationship. Like, I really wanted this. There was something I really thought I was going to get something out of it. And the further you dove into it, you got more and more drained. I do want to ask, what's the primary challenge when it comes to this person, this situation? This could also just be a habit of a type of personality, or, hey, a family style. Every family has their own little weirdnesses on how they try to like get in each other's business. But I'm also going to be asking, what's the blockage? Because there's something that you're having a very difficult time seeing about yourself, let alone seeing about this person, especially if it's like, oh my God, this person's always like this. Oh my God, this person's always like that. And you have to ask the first question, okay, is this something about me? Do I behave this way? Does it show up in a different way? The answer could be yes or no. I'm asking you to be neutral, but please be honest with yourself. But the other ask is, why are you still tolerating this? Why do you need to maintain this relationship? Just because something is established, it doesn't mean it's necessarily healthy for you. So let's have a look at what the cards have to say. King of Swords. There's a real need for you to, inner truth creates external truth, being honest with yourself. There's an ask for you to be a little bit cold and logical, because this person, they're not doing well and they're stirring up emotions. Because again, if they can get you emotionally on their level so that you're both feeling depressed, that you're both feeling upset, then it'll placate this person. It'll make them feel better. Really, at the end of the day, if we want to have a very, very empathetic view of this person, they don't they don't want to feel alone. They want to know that they're not the only one struggling. They want to feel heard. And we all deserve that on some level or another. But the question is, are you their therapist? Because usually the answer is no. This person does need therapeutic support. They need some kind of professional support. And I really want you to be honest. Are you the right person for it? We do have the 10 of Cups underneath here, along with the 9 of Swords. The Fennec Fox is, it's this feeling of, I got your back, you have my back. Let's just all make sure that we feel happy, cozy, and comfy. But with the 9 of Swords underneath, that tells me this person, you really want to be happy. Maybe there was a point when things were happy within the past, but it can't go back to that way. It's sort of like you're just putting on a smile, like let's just do things that happy people do without actually owning the emotion from within. So what's the primary challenge at this time? 2 of Cups. Should I stay or should I go? Do 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 do. Tell me more. That's 2 of Cups. Like, I know I'm getting back into reversals again with my tarot, but just have a note. Look at these 2 penguins right here. One is light, one is shade. Like, the challenge is that, what does this person say about you? And I feel that deflating frustration, because you are exhausted and this person is exhausting, and both of you are just sort of feeding negative energy. Like, that's the problem with deviled energy. Negative feeds the negative. And I really feel as though you're being called to be a person of light. We do have the Tower at the base and the Fool. There is a way that could be, I feel like there's a way you could clear the air, or you want to clear the air. What do we have? The World. No, fuck. This is sort of like, I'm feeling your soul scream that right now. 9 of Swords came back. Okay, so this tells me you want this to end. And it's not so much you want the relationship to end. I feel like you want a habit, a dynamic, to end because, yeah, this with a Nine of Pentacles, there's a lack of independence. This person and you are both codependent on each other. This is a bit of a trauma bonded situation. Doesn't make you a bad person, none whatsoever. However, until you start changing how you wish to approach this situation, nothing's going to change. And you can't force this other person to change. That's kind of the problem that brought you here in the first place. What's the primary blockage? Six of Swords. There's no movement. It's this feeling like you say something and they freak out, and then they freak out, so you don't know if you should say something. It's sort of like this anglerfish can't move and it's just sort of stuck in space, really hoping that the water and the current will be able to take him to the other side. Um, let's double check this. Let's dive. I really want to examine what's going on here. This is not necessarily an uncommon problem. And I find that family dynamics are actually really bad when it comes to this. And this is a challenge with feminine energy where we become very hyper responsive to other people's energies. But there's a real ask for you to learn how to connect with your own soul, to connect with your own energy. And one way you can do it is maybe stop empathizing with other people, at least for a while, because if you're constantly empathizing with everybody else, but you don't tune back into who it is that you truly are, you're constantly lost. And that's where you're bleeding energy. Like, it's sort of like if you're driving around with your phone and you don't have a plug-in for it, and you have the map, the GPS going the entire time, like if you're going for 12 to 24 hours straight on the road, eventually that phone is going to die and you're going to lose your GPS. And in this particular situation, because you don't know how to get back home, proverbially, energetically, you don't know how to get back home, that you're dependent on other people for a plug-in cord, or you have to go into weird situations, but can I charge my phone, please? And, if that turns into a habit, like, you end up winding yourself into situations that are sometimes dangerous, inconvenient, or it starts involving more people, like more and more. Yeah, more people. Like, this is the Lovers. Oh, the Six of Cups. I was hoping the Six of Cups would show up. Um, you're this person feels familiar and people stick to the familiar. It's a familiar argument. It's the same thing over and over again. I'm just exhausted just thinking about how this argument keeps coming up over and over and over again. There we go. Mother of Wands, along with the Sun. This is just projecting onto you. This person really is projecting, but I really have to say this is going two ways. You're frustrated with them because you've given so much space, so much of your time, so much of your energy. You're looking for the transaction where they're going to feed you again. And I promise you, spoiler alert, you will exhaust yourself to the ends of the earth waiting for this narcissist to get their shit together. It's your job to get your own shit together. It's not your job to point it out to this other person. Because again, it's exhausting. It's bleeding you dry. Yeah, we got the Tower came back. Okay. What is it that your higher self is trying to teach you at this time? We got the Fool in the reverse. We saw that Fool a little bit earlier. Kind of curious. Six of Wands. Um, this is a feeling sort of, I feel like you're kind of at this fork in the road. Um, because so difficult to phrase. And part of it is just because I feel so sad. I don't want to channel it. This relationship does have the potential to be reborn again, but I don't know. I'm not feeling good about it. We do have the Page of Wands. Like, this is a gossip. This is a very gossipy energy. This person is getting more people involved than I think you're familiar with. And I want you to be cautious at this time. like, it's going to be important for you to seek out advice. Like, looking up tarot readings online or doing tarot cards for yourself is one way of seeking advice. But this is one of those things where if you speak to the wrong person, oh my God, they will misrepresent you. That and it's sort of like they'll hear what it is you have to say, and then they're going to tell somebody about it, and it's going to come back to you, and they're going to twist your words, twist your meaning. This really could come back to haunt you if you are not cautious. There we go. We got the card of the Hermit. I think you guys really do need to listen to your instincts at this time. Just because someone is knocking at your door demanding your attention, I think there's an ask, because we saw that card of boundaries or at the very beginning of the reading. Retreating into yourself, retreating into your shell, it's not a bad thing. There's some lie that your brain might have taught you, that if you withdraw, you must be weak, you must be evil. Father of Cups, yeah. To Ten of Pentacles. Okay, here's the thing though. You do need to withdraw yourself. And it is actually the most emotional, mature thing to do. It's sort of like, okay, you aren't interested in my advice, so maybe stop coming to me for advice. It's like, or I disagree with you, and you can't force me to agree with you. So what do you want from me? Like, how can I help you? How can I support you? There's only so much that I can do with being me, myself, like, representing you, the viewer, because there's this hidden opportunity for you within here. Like, if you're constantly tired and exhausted trying to babysit this person's emotional energy, um it impacts your job. It impacts your ability to accumulate future wealth. You wind up checking out of reality, and you try to explore other options, but you don't necessarily have the stamina to learn new things. There's something about letting go of a previous version of yourself that is required at this time, so that you stop just paving over the problem. Like, at first it feels great, but it's just poor maintenance. This person isn't interested in changing. And honestly, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, I have to say it means that you aren't interested in change. However, that said, as you are able to connect with yourself and get to know your empathy shoes, being able to kind of sit within your own energy, always being able to reconnect to who it is that you truly are, having a better sense of boundaries when it comes to showing support for the people around us. How are you going to feel at the end of all of this? Five of Wands. A version of you used to believe that not confronting this means you were being avoidant. That's just because these other people are avoidant. Like, you've been taking on everybody else's emotions except your own. And there's an ask for you to realize maybe you just need to be your own emotions right now. Maybe you should just be yourself. Get to know what it is that you truly want. Because the blue sea slug, I'm seeing it just sort of curving up and pulling back and pulling away. But don't allow this to alarm you as this being the final outcome. There's actually some sort of energetic dance that you're going to start learning. Because if you recognize conflict, it doesn't mean you need to engage. I think a lot of you are just going to be encouraged at this time to continue to, like, when that energy of projection, you sense it, it's like, okay, you know just allow it to slide off of you, because angelic energy does feel like this kind of slime bubble. That's kind of one of the ways you know is that you can, pardon me, that you can tell that you're in an angelic presence. It's sort of this like gooey sort of energy that's around you. And reconnect with yourself. Sometimes that's as simple as, it's okay to let go. Because this energy, this devilish energy, it makes you just want to keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back, assuming that there could be a change. And this is if you're stuck in this loop, hoping that this person is finally going to change and get their shit together, you need to listen to that. That's your subconscious telling you You need to get your shit together because why are you dealing with this? There is no fruit. There is no payoff. Like, because even if there is money out of this, whatever that means to you, like, what's the point of being wealthy if you're sick and exhausted all of the time? We do have Four of Wands, Two of Wands. Like, for some of you, this is canceling a celebration and going a bit of a different path, just deciding not to show up at the party, canceling a wedding, canceling a celebration, withdrawing yourself. Like, I really feel as though as long as you're pursuing your own sense of peace, I don't know if I showed this to you. I do have the card of meditate that's hanging out next to the card of gratitude. Like, you're just gonna feel so much better. Oh my God, I'm so thankful I said no to that party. Oh my God, I'm so glad I just chose not to read that bitchy text message. Oh my God, you know what? I'm just glad I shut down the social media. I'm so glad I blocked that person. There's a real chance for you to feel so glad that you stood up for yourself at this time. There you go, Ten of Swords. Putting it down for end and for good. And I like that. We do have the Knight of Wands. Putting an end to people just jumping in and jumping down your throat just because it's convenient for them, and along with Eight of Cups. If you've been looking for some advice, knowing what's the best way to do this, how else can I frame it to you? Putting an end to people who just walk in, they try to seduce you into their problem and making you keep thinking like you are responsible for their emotions, and recognizing that you can just walk away. You can be autonomous and independent wherever it is that you are at, whether this is romantic, platonic, or somebody within your family or at work. Just take ownership for yourself. Get to know your shadow. And this is not something that you can learn necessarily overnight. But if you're pursuing projects, hanging out with people, hobbies, and just learning in ways that help you get to know yourself, you're going to start seeing your shadow everywhere. And I really, really hope that you can learn how to fall in love with the shadowy element of yourself. I'm just saying, wow. Well, whoever it is that you are, damn, I sincerely hope that this helped. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you like the style, please make sure to like the video on the way out. If you'd like some more support while you travel the empath, I highly recommend that you subscribe. And until I see you at the next one, I'm wishing you peace, love, and all the berries.